Hello guys, and welcome to GA Flying. Today we are in South America, in Patagonia, and we'll be doing a very special route today. Let me just show you. So the very tip of South America, we will be starting here, close to the national park, and we will be going south to the southernmost city in the world. So in this case, Ushuaia, I guess. We'll be also using one of my favorite planes. This is obviously the Starship from Black Square, and this is a very special Starship. It's the one I'm using like for a very long time now, for various routes in South America. It's pretty quirky by now because it has a lot of failures that I'm not all repairing. So like my headcanon is that like the less the less major stuff, so the more minor stuff just stays as it is, because there is a shortage of parts, right? Because Beechcraft stopped supporting this plane, which is actually true. I have sold all of them like to a private firm, and it's not so easy to get them fast like in South America. Okay, so we will use some of this Black Square failure simulation. It's very early in the morning. Here you can see already like the first mountains of this like beautiful national park, but we will be kind of flying there. Okay, and Ushuaia, which is our destination, is interesting for a lot of reasons. Also because a lot of Arctic expeditions are starting there, and I was also like flying from there to the south, not to the South Pole, but to Antarctica when I was doing my last world tour. This is also when I have like discovered this great place here. Okay, so let's get rid of the covers. Let's not forget about this pin here, because without it you won't be able to retract the gear. Okay, engine covers, chocks, and there is also, like, for people who are interested in this plane, there is also the GPU here, which you can open here, and the sounds are great. But like today we will not be using the GPU, we don't need it. Just so you know, you don't even need to use the tablet, you can just like simulate that you are the ground crew, right? Okay, and maybe before we start, just as a general information, there is currently a bug in all of the Black Square planes and also in other planes that are using the same state saving mechanism, and they are not saving the state of the plane after the flight. You need to do some special steps, and the easiest way to save it with the bug, right, is using restart after you finish the flight. And this is also something that I hope I will remember today, because otherwise it won't save the state, it won't save the hops meter hours, right? Nothing. So just so you remember, maybe when you will be watching it in the future it will be already fixed, but for now this is the easiest workaround to still have it saved. Okay, that's saying, let's make sure that we got rid of everything. Okay, now we can get in. Okay, let me just go back and close the door. Okay, this works. Okay, and we can just, some nice views. Okay, let's not waste any of those morning hours. It seems like it's a pretty complicated plane, but really it works like most, I guess, turboprops work. So one important thing is that like the zero position is beta, right? And we don't want it to start in beta, we want it to start it in idle. So it's important to move it to idle. It won't break if you don't, but it will be more realistic, and like the readings will be also make more sense. Okay, so I want 2,500 pounds. Okay, so let's just top it up. Okay, we can leave the people here, which will make this one yellow, so we will need a pretty long runway. Thankfully, this is longer than the minimum that this plane needs, so it should be fine. Let me just double check if everything is correct here. It is. Okay, so we need the ICAS to be able to monitor the engines during the startup. And I need the low intensity strobe light. Okay, it kind of acts as a beacon. here you can already see the first failures. Okay, so this unit is not working, but there is this one backup and also this acts as backup. So like our operating procedures are tolerating this one. And also the main annunciator only works on this side. And the last failure that I also have is that this ground icing sensor is not working. That's saying there are also two other icing sensors that are working. And I also like have my ice, right? So I will see when it's being iced up. Okay. Okay, propeller go to forward. This stays in idle, right? Or I had to move it to idle, and we can start. So here we wait until it will be max, right? Until it stabilizes. This is what was recommended by the dev. Because normally like a lower value is acceptable, but it will bring you pretty hot starts, right? Other than this, the wind is coming from our back, right? So it will also increase the temperature. Okay. Too much talking. Let's monitor it. And you can see pretty nice and cold. Okay, here we wait for 50 to turn off the ignition. Okay, nice. And now we can turn on the generator. Okay, and as we are doing a battery start, we are moving this to like high idle, right? And with this we can also start the second one. Okay, everything is in the green. As I said, this plane has a lot of failures accumulated, so I do prefer to kind of watch it closely. Okay. Yes, this is just something that I like about like planes with failures, that after a time it feels very unique. Okay, we have 50. Okay, and now we can move it to ground idle. Okay, and this is pretty much important to remember it, because without it, the generators will not work. Okay, so this is for cooling the avionics on the ground. So let's just use it. And now we pretty much have all of the things that we have to do here. Okay, so anti-skid, oxygen, leader. Okay, all of those avionics, and this is the auto feather system, so it's here. Okay, let me just maybe check if I have not lost any other annunciators. No, it seems like we are still only missing those, this one, yeah, and the anti-ice. I will also want to show you how to use the import function for the route, because this is something that was not implemented in the first version of this plane, so maybe you have seen the old one. Either way, let's initialize it, let's update the position via waypoint. Here I can just use my keyboard. And the airport is Sierra Charlie November Tango. Okay, if I click here, Sierra Charlie November Tango. Okay. Okay. Now it will automatically pull the flight plan, but it's not ready yet. Okay. So I will have to do it either way. So I would like prefer if it would wait, and this is also something that like the dev has discussed, because this was like an after release feature, so it's not so refined yet. Okay. Either way, first let's do the fuel management. Let's see how much fuel we have. 2565. Okay, enter. We have 6 passengers. Okay, and this will help with the calculations of the plane. Okay. And so we will be cruising at 25,000. Okay. You can see it's getting warmer, like a pretty cold morning, and this is actually summer where we are, right? So it's almost as cold as in Alaska. I guess Alaska is like even warmer now. Okay. So the trim for takeoff, I do like to use the bottom half of this one because it really needs a lot of runway to start, especially if it's like loaded. Okay, let me just get the QNH. Okay, 994. Okay, so here 994. Okay, so the screens are pretty bright, so we can change to night mode, right? And you can adjust that, like during night mode they will be just like have a lower brightness. Okay. Let's prepare everything. Let's turn on the light so they can see what they are doing, like when they are sitting down and like closing the seat belts. Okay. And it seems like we are pretty much ready. I just want to do the route here. So let me just see how it's done. You can import it like in many ways, but I like to use this one, the standard import feature here. It has import, and once again, you can use many different sources, but the simplest one for me is just to copy the en route string from SimBrief, right? So let me just too many windows, like always. Okay, and this is just the route that you're getting when you're creating it in SimBrief, right? Okay, and now send to avionics. And you can see it should analyze them and add them. And here we can use the plan map. I don't need those details. And like in a modern airliner, right, you can follow the whole route. But it seems fine. At the end, I also want the approach. So let's take the ILS approach with the transition being MIBOC. Okay. And let's just follow it. Yeah, surprisingly, it has very advanced avionics for its age, right? And type of plane. Okay. It seems like this is fine. So the last thing is that we want FMS, right, to feed into the navigation system. And here let's set up 25,000. I'm using this new DLSS 4.5, so you can see like some smearing, but it's only like pretty light, like especially in comparison to what was before. Okay, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. I probably missed something, but we can always do it, like before we go on the runway. Okay, let me now get rid of the brakes. I just want to first double check if we are recording correctly. Seems to work fine. Here you can see the popped breaker, right? There's also a lot of breakers here. Yeah, I just liked it, like I watched some people flying it and they were checking the breakers, so they only took a look here, right? But just so you know, there's lots and lots of breakers here, so a lot of fun stuff that can break. But the nice thing is that you have lots and lots of backups here, right? So even if something bad happens, there's a big chance that you will be able to like continue the flight. So it will be just fun and not really disruptive like to the whole experience. So this is also something that I like this plane for. Okay, too much talking. Let's go into beta. Okay. And I wanted to check Alt P. Oh, okay, so the standard pushback works, right? The MSFS pushback. Because I will need a little bit more room here. Okay. Nice. Do I have enough? I don't think so. Okay, so let's go back a little bit more. Here you can see some people here. So in general, today I will show you two airports. One is Payware and one is Freeware from Flight CTO. This one is actually payware, although it's a little bit dated. Let me just show you. Loud, so let's just reduce it. It's a pretty, well, small and light on detail airport, right? But the place is just amazing. And also what they have done is they have overhauled a part of this national park behind us. But it was done during MSFS 2020 times, so it doesn't really look that great. Okay, but there is like, well, not a lot, but like a little bit more detail there. Okay, either way, present position map. It's like the standard MFD view that we are expecting. Oh, already 21 inside. Nice. Let's check if they work. I actually needed them one time, so let's hope I won't need them again. Okay. Is the brake on? I think we should be able to go. Yep. I'm also using frame generation because this new DLSS is not bad. Actually, it's much better than the old one. But I don't really have any performance benefit if I don't pair it with frame generation, right? So it doesn't really make much sense. The only thing which it is doing in itself without frame generation is making some of the details sharper, but I also think it's like over-sharpening them a little bit. So if I want to also have like the performance benefit, I also need frame generation. But it's better in this version for sure. Okay. So let's just prepare everything. So we want the landing lights, we want the stronger strobe, and we are turning off cabin overhead, right? Because the cabin is supposed to be dark during the startup, so we only have this here. Okay. Other stuff, flight idle, all of the anti-icing. And let's also do the inertial separator. Okay. We don't need the continuous ignition here. So it seems like we are more or less ready. Let me just make sure with the checklist. Before takeoff. Annunciators, okay, right now, okay, VNX check autopilot on cage, disconnect. Okay. The nice part is that we have this list here, so I'm always forgetting something, so for me this is a blessing that you actually have it like in an Airbus here. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to do is this guidance for takeoff, right, on the flight director. And we can start rolling onto the runway, and the nice part is obviously those further wings here, right? It's a pretty nice animation, especially if like the ground is uneven and they shake. It's a pretty refined animation here. Yeah, this is great. Let's hope we will have some nice views today. I was flying the morning before, so like yesterday, and the views were really great. So let's hope that the weather today will be, well, at least equal. Yeah, I actually bought this plane when it came out, but I didn't really feel it. But now, when it started being so quirky, some stuff not working, I actually feel much better in it. We will already have pitot overheat, so let's just turn it off for now. It's also, I guess, the plane that overheats the pitot tube the fastest from the ones I know. I'm just wondering if it's realistic or not. I was also like using it on very hot days on very short runways, and as I said in the beginning, the long distance needed for the takeoff is pretty much the main downside of this plane. But when I was really pushing it like almost over the limits or slightly over the limits and was turning off bleed, then it kind of was able to even take off like at those 4,000 from the manual, even with full load. But normally with full load, and I'm often flying it with full load, it needs like 5,000-6,000. But you can cheat a little bit, as I said, like turning bleed off, playing around with the takeoff trim and stuff. So I had some risky takeoffs and it was working. I like those like yellow letters that are used in Chile and Argentina. Again, a lot of talking. Yep. And I think we are kind of ready. Last look. So this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. No auto ignition. Okay, we can come back to the pitot tube heat, right? And we can start. Let me just get a nicer view. Actually, I was thinking the view is really bad in this one, but I think it was because I was sitting too high. Because when you're sitting here, it's pretty good. Okay. That's saying, let's go. Before the pitot overheats once again. I actually like this long takeoff run because lately I'm flying the Baron from Black Square, and it's pretty much immediately rotating. It's so overpowered, so I really enjoy that I can roll for longer, especially since the sounds are great. Okay, so just flying into the flight director. It's pushing up a lot, so let's just use some trim. And we can pretty much use the autopilot. There is a hidden click spot here. Okay, and we also want the yaw damper. Once again, hidden click spot here for autopilot on. There is also a second hidden click spot, if you don't know. Let me just show you. Here, if you want to hide the levers, to have full access here. Okay. And with this, we can prepare the plane for the climb. So, what did I want to show you? Yeah, first, propellers. 1600, pretty much everything is done with 1600 other than the takeoff and landing. That's it. Come on. Okay. And we can go into sync mode, which is also used for the climb here. Okay. Let's reduce the torque a little bit, because we will be closing the inertial separators, and this will peak the torque here. Okay, we can do an outside view, just lower the volume. Okay, let's go back into the cockpit. Okay, not everything seems fine. A nice turn here. Okay, let's see what the messaging system is saying. Avionics fault is this one, so this is fine. And the other stuff is happening when we are close away from navigation sources, because I have GPS off. So it's only using those like old school navigation sources, so you can just check it here. And we can see this one. So we are still far away from getting lost. When I was flying like over the Congo in Africa, I had over like 13 miles position uncertainty here. But this is very low, so this is fine for us. Okay, and also I like to set it to auto, because then it will auto-tune VORs that are close. Okay. We can also turn on the weather radar. Okay, and we can take a look here with radar. Okay, so here it seems there will be like a storm cell. So let me just take... Whoa, 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 is it really there? Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is something that I was not expecting. Okay, we can get rid of the blower because it's mostly used on the ground and when it's very hot. And can also, this is already to max, so this is the ventilation for the cockpit, and it's also helping with cooling the avionics. Okay, this comes from one of the ones that were appearing here, but they are not important now. And let's take a look to this right side, what is like brewing there. Ooh. Okay, I can also show you the cabin. So here we have a nice view, like for the flight attendant, I guess. So here we have our guests. There is some very atmospheric lighting that you can use. Let me just see if I can click it. And here it's not so visible. And it's already too bright, but I really like those lights, especially when it's night and you're looking back, it looks really nice. That's saying there is no table. Okay, which is pretty sad. Okay, so we are already pretty high and I was talking too much, so we can release the passengers. Okay, we don't need the landing lights and the rest can stay on. Okay, I think the transition altitude here is actually 10,000, so you can also disable this automatic alarm at 18,000 and it's this one, if you are flying outside of the United States. Okay, here we have to watch the limit, which is 840 from what I remember. Okay, looks nice. Oops, just clicked some random stuff. So we can take a look outside. Some nice morning clouds, and after we leave this initial area here, there will be some great terrain, right? Really fascinating, very close to what I have shown you last time in Alaska, right, on the Alaskan Peninsula. And you can see very favorable winds for us, right, for the direction that we are traveling in. Okay, let me do just do a check here. This is fine, this is fine. I hope nothing else will pop during this flight, because I have enough failures, thank you. Some stuff that is like in my head canon, right? Easy to fix or that is critical, I'm fixing, right? So if there would be like an important failure and we would land, then I would obviously fix it. And if it's something that seems easy to fix, I had like one of the landing lights malfunction, right? Then I also fixed it. Yeah, so flying with failures is kind of partially role-playing, right? Just go to the side. So where is the storm? I guess somewhere here. So either way, we will go over it, right? Okay, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Yeah, I like having lots and lots of switches. This is also why I love the King Air from Black Square. So let's just hope that this new native 2024 version will be amazing. Okay, so we are settling in for the cruise here. We can turn off the auto feather for the cruise part. And let me just see if I have not forgot something. Cruise power auto feather off, lights as required. Okay, and we just have to monitor the engines and the fuel usage. So we have nothing in the auxiliary tanks, so this is fine. Seems okay. So let's talk about some functions of the plane. Maybe let's look out. Maybe we are over those very interesting mountains already, but I don't think so. No. Okay. So you will have to wait a little bit. But I promise you, it's awesome, right? At least if you like this type of terrain, right? Okay, so what did I want to show you here? So we do have a full progress page. That's saying you need to take into consideration that it's not very advanced. So for example, when it's calculating how much fuel will be left at different waypoints, then it's taking into consideration the current speed and the current fuel usage, right? So as you can see, we are still accelerating, so we are not at final cruise speed yet, okay? So this all can change. So don't just look at it in the beginning of the flight and decide that you have like too much or not enough, right? It needs to settle down in cruise. And there's also a calculator for it. Let me just show you. So trip planning, right? Use present position as from point, and then 2 in our case. Yeah. Okay, estimated ground speed 350 because we have this great wind here, and estimated fuel usage is 400, 800, 780 in both engines, right? And you can pretty much see when we will arrive there and what will be the fuel required for the trip. But as I said, it's just taking into consideration the data that you are like inputting, okay? Or putting in this case. Okay, let me just take a look. It's getting more interesting, but we are not there yet. So in general, when it comes to Patagonia, it's fascinating because you have pretty much everything there. Let me just try to show you the map. So here you have glaciers and volcanoes. This is an archipelago, pretty much. Those are like full-blown fjords, like in Norway. And at the same time, all of this here is like beautiful desert, very unique and very alien looking. So you have so many types of terrains in one place. I just like, when I came down here, when I was doing my world tour, I was not expecting much. But really it's fascinating. No wonder that like so many of those global tourists, globetrotters, are traveling to Patagonia to see it, because it's really amazing. You just see, yeah, brighter screens are nice. And I don't think I need the light anymore. Okay, nice, nice, nice. Let's do a quick check. This all seems fine. Okay, so slowly as we are getting closer and closer to the interesting terrain, maybe you can fill in the descent data. So when it comes to VNAV, we only have like a manual calculator, okay? So let me just show you. Okay. So this is our star that we'll be flying along, right? And we can see that the first waypoint is doubly at 140, okay? I mean, minimum 140. So let's just try to find it here, because I just wanted to show you how I'm normally doing it. I hope I didn't miss the point. Okay, just a second here, doubly. So 13,000 feet. Okay, and it will calculate obviously the vertical speed that you will need to. Oops, was it doubly? No, it was supposed to be here. Can I just remove it? Let me just see. Actually, never did this mistake, so it always happens when I'm talking too much. And no, 0 doesn't help. Okay, either way, we need doubly. So 13,000 at doubly. Okay, and sadly this has now bugged out. Okay, because it's always the first one where it's showing the correct one, and then the next ones I'm not really understanding the logic why it's having so steep descents. Let me just think about this one. How can I clear it? Maybe here? No. Here? No. That's typical. Because I don't see a delete here. Alright, so just so you know the context, right? So I'm flying this plane for 34 hours, right? And this is the first time I did it, just like because I was confused, right? I was distracted. How do I now remove this one? Let me just see. Let's go to VNAV. Okay, and let's say I also want to be here. Yeah, not like this. No, this is for the letters. Okay, either way, I've messed it up and don't know how to fix it. Oh, here, clear altitude. Okay. Very clever. Okay, so here we have doubly, at pan is 100. Okay, then here we have 7,000. Okay, and Mibok is 6,500. Okay, so once again, just to confirm, I have provided those, right? So I will remember them without looking at the charts. Okay, and the final altitude where we will be catching here, catching the glide slope, will be Foxtrot India 25, right? So let me just find this one. Okay, and this is supposed to be mandatory 5,100. Okay, and this is just for us, right? Because we will take into consideration those calculations, but all of the rest is just for us to remember what the expected altitude is. Okay, so let's take a look outside. Okay, it's getting interesting. So this is actually the Magellan Strait. Okay, let me maybe show you on the map. So this is where like Magellan was sailing to find this shorter route, right? And now we will be going over it. Okay. and we are going even more to the south here. Okay. One additional thing that we can do, let me first check if we... Yes, so those are all of the VORs that the navigational system is using to find its way when it's not using GPS. Okay, maybe I can just show you. I guess here, no. Yeah, I just want to show you how to turn off the GPS guidance, right? So you can fly with just the standard sensors that it was using like in the past. Okay, so it's in system control, in sensors, and here we have to put GNSS, which is GPS to know, right? And this way it will only use those very low frequency antennas, the global ones that I was showing you before, and near VORs. And this way it will be possible to get lost, like in places where there is really nothing, pretty much, like over the Congo, and as I was telling you before. Okay, so now it's a little bit too bright for me. Okay, I do prefer this one. And also one nice feature, if you are working with a lot of waypoints, is that you can change this one to a more modern view. Okay, so you click Arc Map 2 times, and this way you can just see your route. All right. And this one, you can use this one for something else than the moving map, which is also great. Okay, too much talking, we can add a little bit more power. Although it's really easy to overheat it, like go over 840, that's saying it's pretty tolerant to it. Yeah, you would need to do it for a very long time, right? So despite like it changing to yellow at 840, right? It's not getting damaged right away. And I would just assume this is very realistic, because it's sometimes even enough to get like a strong wind blow, or like the temperature changing, like the air masses changing, right? And this will peak. So this way, like all of the turboprops in reality would be damaged pretty quickly. Okay, so still just one breaker. Okay, I'm just wondering if the screen tearing is visible if I'm moving the view. Because like if I'm doing it too fast, it happens. And this is something that only happens with frame generation. I do think I could maybe limit the FPS somehow, but for now I didn't find like a good solution. Okay, let me just take a look outside. Okay, so here is the Strait of Magellan, right? And there starts this land of fire that Magellan was like describing. I actually was like reading a lot about this area. So in the beginning, like people were thinking that the land of fire was because of all of the volcanoes there. Actually, most of them were not active, right, when he was sailing here. So the current theory is that it was about like fires that the native, well, South Americans, I guess in this case, were burning on the shores. Okay. We will see something, like, trust me, hopefully. Because the mountains, when they will start, they will be pretty high, so I would expect them to reach over those clouds. That saying, clouds in MSFS 2024 are also amazing. So this is the only setting that I always have on ultra, no matter what and where I'm flying. Okay. This, let's go to progress and let's see. Okay, so it's still 211 miles out, right? Our destination. We also have other views that are similar to the views that you have in like modern airliners. So for example, the performance page, right? You have pretty much all of the data here. see the radar. Not bad, not bad. We are still lucky, right? We are pretty much avoiding all of the worst threat here. One thing is that our icing sensor is not working, but I think it's only the ground icing sensors. And according to the dev, if I remember it correctly, that they were free, so I would expect the plane to still inform us when there will be icing. But we will see. Okay, let me just check the progress to this. What was the name of this waypoint? W. Okay, so this is the one where we are supposed to be at flight level 140. So still pretty far away. Okay, we can do some outside views. And so this tail camera is always awkward. In general, because what I have shown you now is the cinematic view from chase plane, it's still not showing the pilots inside the cockpit, which is a bummer. But it's only a bug for those native 2024 planes, because if you have an old 2020 plane that doesn't have this new avatars, you will be able to see the pilots inside, right? So for chase plane, it's better if the plane is old. Okay. Okay. You can also change the brightness of every screen separately, right? So you can pretty much fine-tune how the day mode will be and how the night mode will be here. Okay, let me see if we can see something. Okay. Pretty dramatic clouds, but not much more. I guess we can already set up all of the landing data. Most of it we have already, so let me just show you. So the minimums are 200, this is the standard setting, and we have it here. Okay, let's move it to 200. Okay, as you can see, some ghosting from DLSS, but not much, especially taking into consideration that frame generation is also on. Okay. And the other stuff is obviously, let's tune in the ILS, okay, 111.3. Okay, so now you can use this one or this one, 111.3. Okay, this is fine. And now in navigation source, we are obviously following FMS now, right? But if you want to already prepare the final course for the approach that you will use with radio navigation, you can click nav source again and provide like a second course that will be activated when you want to. Okay, so in this case, the approach course will be 254. So let me just tune it up. And as you can see, I'm tuning this alternate one. This is in many ways, this plane and those avionics are really amazing. Like, so much unique functions or functions that you normally only find in airliners, but like sometimes even more advanced with like more customization options. Okay. So is there anything else that I want to show you? Let me just see. Obviously you have the procedures here, right? Avionics status. Not all of the systems are covered by breakers. So there are some faults, right? Some failures that will be only visible here in this system. Okay. In this case, the RTU unit is this one that is missing. That's saying we have the backup here, and we also can tune here. Right, so 2 backups. The SOP is okay with just missing one in our case. Okay. Okay, let me just do some inside views. Yeah, I really like this color. There's also a second interior that is more reddish, I guess. But this one is like very cozy. Okay, and here we have the back seat, and you can also use the light here. I just need to get used to turning the camera slowly, because otherwise I'm getting this stirring. I'm just wondering how it will record on YouTube. We'll need to check it out. Okay. No, nothing. Okay. So guys, I guess I will just propose to jump to a moment where we will see more, right? And we'll probably also prepare the descent by then. So I will just see you, well, for me in a couple of minutes, for you in a minute. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Okay guys, so we are entering the more interesting area with this more like dramatic here terrain. We can take a look around. Okay, it's a little bit bumpy for the passengers, so maybe let's just use the seat belts here. And let's see what we can see. Right? As I said, when it comes to those like extreme end of the world areas, Alaska is the best, right? Iceland, I guess, is the second place. Norway is probably the worst, and I'm only talking about the quality of the textures, right, and of the terrain and the sim, because like in reality they are all amazing and like all similar in character, I would say, and this is also why I love them all. But here it's kind of a very mixed bag. I'm still trying to find like a route that would show the best possible quality of the terrain here. That's saying, I mean, you can see it here, right? It's beautiful. Let me just see. Yeah. So here you can see all of those like exotic, well, alien looking planes are starting. Not like planes, like in planes, but you know what I mean. The type of terrain, right? And then after this you have just like unending deserts with some like very interesting sand and rock formations that I have also seen. So when I was traveling here during the world tour, I was obviously flying lower, like around 8,000, I think, feet. And the quality was also pretty nice. So in general, I would say it's hard to say with MSFS because sometimes it looks better like from the very top. Sometimes it looks better when you are, well, on low altitude. And sometimes it looks best when you are just somewhere below. So I guess it depends on the quality of those like pictures, satellite pictures that are being taken at different heights. But you can pretty much see here why I like it so much. Obviously, they are also into those like alien-looking end-of-the-world places, right? Let me see the other one. Okay, and here the mountains start, like the glaciers start. And this is pretty much the type of terrain that we'll be expecting now. And it will get even better because in those like fjords, I guess, to the south where we're heading to, you will have a very great mix of like snow-covered mountaintops and green below, which just looks amazing. But here we also have a pretty epic view. Okay, you can see from here. Yeah, what can I say? I think there's just something like magical in MSFS that it allows us to see all of those places, and they are not that far off from reality that we will maybe never see, right? Because in case of Iceland, like it's only 4 hours from Poland, right? So it was reachable for me. But here, I think it's like 20. So I'm not sure if I will ever invest that money to really travel to this part of the world, right? And I actually don't like long airliner travel, right? So those 4 hours to Iceland were already, well, an achievement for me. Because I don't think I have ever traveled longer than 4 or 5 hours in a plane, like in reality. Interesting for somebody that spends so much time like in a virtual cockpit. Let's take a look at some more terrain here. Yeah, and there's like a lot of strong wind there. I mean, we can even see it here. We are pretty low, so 25,000 is not that much. And still it's like 76 knots wind. And this is something that is pretty normal here. We can see the expected vertical speed to reach 14,000 at doubly is already pretty high. So we can prepare for the descent. Okay. Look. Okay, and we will be landing close to sea level. Okay, so this is sea level. What was the altitude of the airport? It's 100, and it's plus 500 feet, right? So 100 plus 500, so 600 feet. So I guess somewhere here. Okay, so cabin altitude. Okay, let me just check the checklist. Okay, so this one we have done. Rate knob as desired, it's fine. Standby altimeter, for now we are not changing it, but I have written down the QNH, it will be 992. Okay, seatbelts not needed, now power reduce. Okay. And what is this? 1400. So let's do 1500. That's saying it's pretty violent in display, like the pitch changes. So I do prefer to not do the full vertical speed at once, because then it seems like it would not be very good for the passengers. There is also a function that is called descent here, like in the King Air, and it will actually regulate the descent speed to red line minus 10 knots, I think, which is also pretty cool. But as I have those like exact vertical speeds here calculated already, I prefer to do it by hand. Okay, so this is fine. Nice, nice, nice. Let's see if nothing else has popped. Okay, so here we are safe. I just love having so many breakers. And this is as expected. Okay. This is great. Here you can also see the VORs that are tuned in. If I'm understanding it correctly, but I think from the video that I have seen, this should be the second VOR here. And this is this arrow probably. Yeah, because the first one is not tuned in. Oops. Just a second. I wasn't intending on clicking it really. Okay, outside view. This is a nice view. Okay, enough. Yeah, it's doing a pretty good job at following the route, right? The magenta line. Yeah, the fascinating thing is that it's not GPS, right? But it's just using all of those radio navigation sources to really place those waypoints in space. Let me see how accurate it is. Yeah, we are still having the highest, well, uncertainty possible, right? So like the lowest one, the highest precision. This is probably because we have so many VORs here. And we can also see which one of those like very low frequency antennas it's using. So Puerto Rico, okay, makes sense. Argentina makes even more sense, right? Because actually, fun fact, the port that we have left, the airport was in Chile, and The airport where we'll be landing at is in Argentina, because they have kind of divided Patagonia in a very strange way. Okay, Liberia is interesting. I would assume it's on the south of Africa. Okay. Okay, and let's just see if we are correct. So this tells us we need a little bit more than we have. So let's just switch it. Okay, and here we are still fine. Yeah, I just love that you can also have this waypoint view here. It's very convenient. Most of the time when I'm flying, I have this view here and the progress page here, just so I know how many like trek miles are left to the destination. Yeah, so as I have said many times before, I normally don't like high and fast planes that much. I mean, if it's a very complicated airliner, then it's fun because there is lots and lots of stuff to do. Like even if there are no views outside, well, no detailed views because you're far away from the ground, and I'm having fun because there is a lot of clicking. But those planes that are having like a medium amount of clicking, I guess, and they're still high and fast, most of the time are kind of boring-ish for me. And this, despite having like a medium amount of stuff to click, still makes a lot of fun, right? Maybe because I'm suspecting a failure every minute, and this is why I'm scanning everything all of the time. Yeah, we can do an outside view. As you can see, no pilots, sadly. Oh, interesting. There seems to be like a small bug with W. Oh, let me see if I cannot do it direct. Because I have seen it once in the past, right? It will still fly to W, but I'm not sure why it's not. We are on auto lag, so this is fine. Why it's not drawing the line to W? It might be because of how the plan was imported, maybe. We have still some turbulence, so the passengers are still seated, right? Let me just try to do a direct to W. I don't think it will help, because when I had this in the past it was not. But we can see here, direct to W. Okay, okay, and now it works. Interesting. Okay, but the flight plan should still be as before. Yep. Okay. Let me just see here. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so we need to be at 13,000 at W, and this will work out. Let me just see what the next one will be. Okay, 10,000 at Etpan, which is here, right? Okay, so we can get rid of some of the speed. This might be a pretty sharp turn. Okay, and as I said, like the bottom is still green, right? But we have those like snow. I used a very intelligent like word. Snow-topped peaks. English is hard. Okay, but this view is great. Okay, and we are going over W. So let's now go to 10,000. And 10,000 is a transition altitude here, so just do not forget. Let me just already set the QNH. So it was supposed to be 992. Okay, and now we go up, which is not intended because it is correcting, right? So let me use this one. Yeah, and I was reading also a lot about like the real Starship, and like one downside, right? One fault of the plane was that it wasn't very stable in pitch. like getting oscillations in pitch during different phases of flight was pretty much something that was common in some situations. And because of this, it was also like less comfortable for the passengers. And so here I guess we can just do like a descent up to this this waypoint here, because I think it's guaranteed that we will not go lower than 10,000 at Edpan, I guess, with this descent that we have here. So let me already provide the vertical speed for this. So I mean the altitude. Okay, so 7,000 at this one. And let's just continue the descent. Okay, landing lights. This can stay, they are already seated, so this is fine. Auto feather. And we can slowly do the checklist because there will be a lot of work here. But first, let me see if we are descending. We are. Okay, so this is fine. Before landing. Okay, pressurization. Okay, seems to be fine. Auto feather armed, seatbelts on, landing gear down, not yet. Okay, flaps, lights, autopilot, propeller sync. Okay. So we are still far away from many of those points, right? First, let's reach short final. Just make this one bigger. And let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's nice. I like this like manual VNAV working pretty nicely. Obviously, it takes more work, right? But you can still do it. Because with those like standard GPSs, you also have this manual VNAV page, but you can also provide one point, and it's a lot of clicking. And here it's very convenient that you can just type in the whole descent and the whole approach, right? And just double check with the data here. Yes, according to the dev, this is also a pretty slippery plane, right? So if the descent is like sharper than 1500, it might be hard to get rid of the speed. And this seems to be true because we are pretty much at minimum thrust already. And MIBOK is supposed to be 6500. Okay, so I just set it up. Some nice snowed-up valleys, and here is this like large fjord, and it actually has two interesting airports. The second one, which is not like this big city like Ushuaia, right, is more like of a scientific outpost, and the story about it is also pretty interesting. Okay, so let us just proceed here with the manual descent. Because we want to be at 5100 at this. Obviously, seeing those mountains so close, you understand why we are having all of those limitations, right? Especially since it's often very cloudy here, so makes sense. Okay. Okay, and we should be able to reach 5100 at this one without a problem. Here we have the suggested vertical speed. I just need to figure out why it's being messed up when it's not the closest waypoint. why is it showing like those absurdly high amounts for the next ones? Oh well, I don't need to understand everything, I guess. Okay, let's add some thrust, and we can slowly prepare the plane. I had this approach once. I was flying like from a different airport, and I almost stalled the plane here because it's like a very steep descent for the first waypoints, but now after this turn it gets shallow pretty fast, and I was pretty much at like very low thrust, almost zero thrust. And then once I evened out, the plane started to stall, obviously, right? So something to watch out for. Okay, and we can see it already here. So let me see what are the track miles to it. 16 miles. Okay, so we can first change to heading mode. Okay, then we can go to nav source, to VOR1. Okay, and 254 is the same as the standby one, so we can just go back to nav. Okay, and we are on the localizer now. Okay, let me run the checklist again. So approach speed, we are pretty light this time. As I said, normally I'm packed full, so I would say the approach speed will be around 110. There is no calculator provided. Pressurization, okay. Okay, so we just have like a difference here, but like the cabin altitude is as low as it was supposed to be. Seatbelts, okay, auto feather is armed, it is. Landing gear down, not yet. Autopilot disconnect, propeller sync. Okay, we can get rid of propeller sync and the yaw damper. Just to be prepared. And also let's already arm the approach mode. Oh, because I was looking at them. Okay, too much talking. I was looking at this one, but obviously this is the one for the speed, and we were already at the glide slope. Okay. Okay, so with this, we can just use our great flaps, or whatever we are using as flaps here. Okay. Let's just do the inertial separators, right? I think I said inertial stabilizers, like too much sci-fi movies, I guess, so separators. Because, as you probably know, Black Square is simulating the fault, like, so for foreign object damage. Is it? Yeah, I guess that's the abbreviation. Especially if like the quality of the runway and the airport, right, is not very high, then you can ingest some trash into the engine. So those help with this one. Also, one interesting fact, I didn't remember it because I was flying many other Black Square planes, but I didn't remember it's a thing in any of those. You can overheat the brakes, which I think is just unique to this one. I did actually do it in Africa on one of those like shorter strips. Just another reason why this plane is so exciting, right? Okay, so we can go to full props. Okay, prop sync is off. And here we can see 7 miles out. So let's just drop the gear at 5 in this case. Okay, this is fine, this is fine. No additional failures, I hope. Yeah. Okay, so we have the decision height already here. Let me just see. Oh, roll and pitch. What? That's strange. Let's just wait for it. Why is it not? 111.3, this is fine. Okay, localizer. Okay, but pitch. Why is it not arming the glide slope? Okay, so we are below the glide slope, so it should not be difficult for it to catch it. I guess maybe because we are below the glide slope. No, but it's like descending on its own. Let me just see. Okay, so let's go to... Yeah, always when recording. Normally I never had a problem with the glide slope in this one. Okay. Okay, now it's on glide slope. So probably because we have armed it when it was just like an inch below, right? It didn't change to glide slope, it stayed in pitch, but because the pitch was pretty high, we were pretty much steeper than the glide slope, so it has never catched up to us, right? Makes sense. I have really flown this plane before, okay? Trust me. Okay, so we have this here, here, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. We have the landing gear, free green, okay? Here we can see that the flaps are properly extended, and we are getting close to the minimums, okay? Okay, let's just take over. Oh, yeah. Some turbulence. Okay, so we can do flaps up, whatever, and let's just proceed here. So this is like a totally free airport here from FlySim2O, and there is actually also like a paid one, but I compared the screenshots and it looked, well, almost the same, maybe the same, I don't know. I haven't seen like many differences or anything, or I was sure that it was really like a quality difference, so I just got the totally free one, and it seems, I don't know, looks great. And we can get rid of the radar. Yeah, I really like taxing it with the beta range. It's really nicely adjustable here. It's also like a pretty unique terminal building here. And obviously like the view is amazing. We have bright day, which like MSFS never looks good with it, but just trust me that if there is some clouds here and like a little bit more subtle lightning, this really looks amazing. And I guess you can also, you're starting to see it once we come closer. Okay. Look. So let's just do, oops, not this one, let's just do a checklist. Okay, so all of the heats go off. Okay. Vent cable heat off. Auto ignition, we haven't used it. Transponder to standby. Oh, this is something that we have forgot here. Okay, so this is where you do it. Lights as required, so we don't need the landing lights. We don't need the high intensity strobe. Let's change it to low intensity. Okay, and we can stay with the rest. Let's prepare the trim. It's pretty nice. We can still. Okay, and retract the wing, which is all done. Okay, so let's just proceed. Yeah, great view. It must be exciting, especially if you're one of the people who are just traveling there to travel to Antarctica. Right? Okay. Let us find a nice place. We have some great texturing here on this part. Yeah, I just love how well you can control it on the ground with this beta. Yeah, but it gets really windy here. I have seen like some travel blogs from people, so it almost blew their heads off. It was looking like this on the video. Okay, let me just see. Now let's maybe get the last one. I confess I'm not sure what the intention here is, but I guess you have just to... they're expecting you to oversteer with this one. And then settle on this straight one. Okay, we can get rid of the taxi light, not blind people here. Yeah, some great quality for a free airport. Yeah, and the light here is great. Okay, we'll just move up. Plop. And let's just turn it off properly, because you can also damage the engine if you don't. Okay, so first go to idle. Okay, parking brake is set. Oxygen is off. Engine ice protection is off. Okay, windshield heat is off. Is it? Yeah, it is. Okay, standby instruments off. Pilot and co-pilot instruments off. Bleed air and air conditioning is off. Battery is charged. I'm not entirely sure how it works, to be honest. I guess it's just zero load. Okay. ITT stabilized. It seems stabilized. Okay. So condition levers and cutoff. Okay, propellers cut off. And monitor the ITT. It's going down nicely. No, still pretty hot. Okay. Overhead panel switches. Okay, so we can release the passenger. Let's give them some light. Okay. And for now, just the light so they can pack their stuff. Okay. ICAS off. And master switches, let's just turn off the generators and stay with the battery for a second. We also don't need auto feather. This seems to be fine. Let me do like a breaker check. Okay, nothing new. Yeah, that's actually set. I was expecting to get something. Oh, we have something new. Number 1, DME. Oh, so DME was not working, but I'm just wondering which one. Okay, so something that I will have to check out on the next flight. Nice. So if you're wondering, I'm flying with 5 times failures, which I would say gives me like a failure every second long flight. And I'm doing like mostly long flights with. This is really good. Okay. Either way. Let me just go back here. Open this one. Okay. I guess we don't need the lights here because it's bright enough. And I can just... Okay. Nice. Let's go out. Okay, nice flight. I will for sure want to explore this whole region a little bit more. Okay, nice. And the important thing now, if you still remember, if you want for the state of the plane to be saved, you will have to select restart, right? And restart the flight. And then you can be sure that it will be saved. There are some other solutions, like going back to the menu and starting a new flight on a new airport. There are many ways that people have found in the internet, but from what I have researched, the most safe one and dependable one is just clicking restart. Okay. And with this, I thank you very much for following this flight. I hope it was interesting, and I will see you in future GA flying videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.